Welcome to level 2 of Pillow Play. Now this module is all about touch and bodies, and so we'll learn about bodies and erogenous zones and amazing types of touch a little later on. But first, in this sexual skill, I want to talk to you about the foundations of giving amazing touch. And my number one skill, which everyone should know, is it matters less about the specific technique of the touch, although we'll learn those as well, but what matters most is your presence. So being really mindful and in the moment, because that means that you're able to read your partner's body language, stay with them and their body, and they can feel the difference. If you, for example, were to turn to your partner now and give them a minute or 2 minutes of really mindless, thoughtless touch, the sorts of touch that you might give someone if you're watching TV together and they say, oh, can I have a back massage, or can you give me a little foot rub, and you're thinking about something else or you're watching the TV, that touch is gonna feel okay, but it's gonna feel pretty rubbish compared to what it would feel like if you are 100% present and with their body. And it is the same during sex. If you're getting in your head about one thing or another, worrying about the exact technique or whether they're enjoying it or what to do next, or thinking about work or something completely different, they are going to be able to feel the difference, because their little body language cues that they're giving off of that feels great, or a little more like that, you're not going to feel them. You're not going to be there and in the moment with them. So number one tip is presence. And again, the Bossy Massage is so good for teaching what we call mindful touch. The amazing sex educator Betty Martin also created a game, which is a shorter version of this game, called the 3-minute game. And the idea of the 3-minute game is essentially it only takes 3 minutes for us to really check in with each other when it comes to giving touch. If you were to do this to yourself using the hands, this is what's called awakening the hands, and just start exploring your hands for 3 minutes with really, really mindful touch, staying really present to what your hands can feel and staying curious about the different textures and temperatures and sensations on your hands, and did that for 3 minutes. By the end of the 3 minutes, not only would you feel more relaxed and more present in your body, but you would also notice that the nerve endings in your hands, which are actually one of the most sensitive parts of the human body, have started to come alive. You might feel things like tingling in your hands, heat, tingling going up your arms, and feeling that sensation actually elsewhere in the body as well. And this is about the power of the brain. When we put our attention somewhere in the body, for example, in that example, into the hands, we start to be able to feel more. And so at first, this sort of sensation might feel, perfectly pleasant, but after 3 minutes, suddenly it's becoming pleasurable and then even arousing. So make sure that you're bringing your mind into the experience by putting your placement of awareness where you want it to be, which, if you are the giver, is in your hands, and if you are the receiver of the touch, it is wherever your partner's hands are and whatever touch is that you're getting. This idea of sexy mindfulness, I suppose, wanting your brain to be where the touch is happening or the touch that you're giving, is really important for giving and receiving incredible erotic touch. So the Bossy Massage is about all sorts of skills. Yes, it's about giving great mindful touch and receiving great mindful touch. It's also about seeing if you can stay present and in the moment with each other and listening to your body. But it's also really about asking for what you want. We are not mind readers, and it is really important when we give and receive erotic touch to be able to communicate. And in life, not just in sex, we are not very good at this. If you think about what it's like when you go and book in a professional massage, for example, most of the time you lie back really passively, and maybe they ask the question, how is the pressure? And you might say, fine, instead of even if it's not, or you might ask for a certain pressure, but that tends to be the end of the communication. Well, the Bossy Massage is the exact opposite of that. It's really about teaching you how to feel in to what your body is experiencing as the receiver, what touch am I getting, and how could this touch be even more perfect? And finding a language and finding your voice for how to ask for it. And as the giver, that's sometimes really hard to hear, because we are trained to think that getting feedback, getting direction or instruction during sex means that we're doing something wrong. And that is absolutely not the case. We are not mind readers, and how can we possibly know what is going to make touch feel even more perfect for that person in this moment unless they're able to ask for it? And obviously, the more you get to know each other and you're starting to learn things like your language, but also your non-verbal language, you'll have different ways of being able to communicate this feedback. More of that in a second. But to start with, I really get couples to try and be as bossy and as communicative as possible, because it is something that most people don't have all of that much experience in. So it will feel a little uncomfortable if you're not used to asking for what you want and being so direct. It might feel a little uncomfortable receiving all of that feedback if you're not used to receiving it. But I promise with practice, this will be a huge game changer. Plus, even if the two of you have been dating or in a relationship for years and years, it is impossible to know exactly what each other want. We might think that we know our partner's body really well, and you might do really well. However, bodies change from not just year to year or day to day, but moment by moment as we get more relaxed, more turned on, more aroused. And so just because you think, normally this touch feels great, or even this touch felt great to this person yesterday, it might not actually feel the same today. So it doesn't reflect badly on the giver at all if the receiver is needing to give a bit of feedback or a little bit of direction or a little bit of support for what their body is needing in that day. And in fact, in the session when I play the Bossy Massage with couples, often you will see that the giver, who is getting all of that feedback, finds it so helpful because they can finally go, I don't have to worry about whether you're enjoying this or whether I'm doing the right thing and get in my head. All I need to worry about is staying present and listening to your feedback and trying to do exactly what you say so that I can focus on giving the most perfect touch possible. And that's a really fun frame of mind to be in. Similarly for the receiver, rather than getting in their head about feeling selfish or when will it be my turn to give, or that's not quite right, I don't really know how to communicate that, they can just focus on listening to their body, on staying present and being curious about what kind of touch would feel even more perfect. And so they get to sort of really enjoy and feel empowered by that new dynamic as well. So it's a win-win for both people. So rather than seeing feedback as something which will disconnect or ruin the flow or get in the way of really amazing touch, this game is all about trying what happens when you are constantly communicating and actually feeling the benefit of that. It doesn't mean that you have to communicate to this extent in sex, but as I said, it's a really great skill to learn. In my experience as well, certain people find either giving pleasure or receiving pleasure more comfortable. If you think about it, during sex, we are often in the give role. For example, when we are going down on a partner or giving our partner oral pleasure or pleasuring our partner in some way, and we're often in the receiving role. Now, some people love to give. They feel turned on by their partner's pleasure. They like to feel helpful, feel useful, and makes them feel really sexually confident to be able to give that pleasure to their partner. Other people really struggle to give. They get in their head about, am I doing the right thing? Is this what they want? I feel really uncomfortable or embarrassed if I get this wrong. Similarly, some people love to receive. They can lie back and let their mind go still and quiet and just enjoy the beautiful sensations and pleasure and arousal that is the gift of their partner's touch. But a lot of people struggle to receive. They might worry about what their body looks like or tastes like or smells like, feel too selfish, worry that their partner's not enjoying themselves, worrying that they're taking too long or fixating on the idea of orgasm. In fact, that's a problem that happens on both sides, this fixation on orgasm being the goal of pleasure and the goal of touch, the giver being really focused on whether they're able to make their partner come or whether it's taking too long, and all of that pressure is also being put on the receiver as well, and then no one's actually having the best time possible and both people are feeling pressured. And the common theme in all of this is in their head. right? And as I said at the start of this video, the number one way of making your touch feel better is not being in your head, but being present and in your hands and in your body. So this is also a great game, not because it teaches us feedback, but it makes both of you practice being a giver and being a receiver, and noticing, okay, in our sex life, do we tend to fall into a dynamic where one person prefers to give and one person prefers to receive? And how can we flip that round? How can we make sure we're both learning how to be good givers and both learning how to be good receivers? Because in sex, it isn't just about learning how to give pleasure. There seems to be a lot of focus on that, actually, when it comes to sexual skills. But it's also about learning how to receive. And being a good receiver isn't lying there super still like a statue in your head worrying about your orgasm. Being a good receiver is being able to ask for what you want, being able to voice your needs, being able to listen to your body, and also being able to build arousal yourself through things like moving your body, making noise, breathing, touching your body as well. So you're not just lying there like a statue, holding your breath, tensing your muscles, thinking about something else entirely and expecting arousal to happen, because it won't. You have to join in and support the experience to be a good receiver. So there's a lot of skills in the Bossy Massage. Communication is just one of them. And hopefully it'll give you both a chance to practice giving, practice receiving, giving beautiful mindful touch, and also receiving and giving feedback. There is this huge myth that great sex needs to be spontaneous, it's intuitive, and it needs to be silent. By which I mean spontaneous. People think that somehow scheduling sex or prioritizing sex and intimacy and connection makes it less special than if it's just happened automatically. Hopefully you were learning last module in the Breaks and Accelerator quiz that this is absolutely not the case, given the fact that so many people have responsive desire, and actually prioritizing your pleasure and your turn-ons is really important. Hopefully you're realizing that it isn't always intuitive. Yes, it's the most natural thing in the world, but sex is a skill like any other, and it is a skill that we have to learn. And if we always just think it's intuitive, that's going to set us up for a real lifetime of average or pretty disappointing sex if we just think that everyone should be able to do it without any learning at all. And finally, this myth that great sex should be silent, that we should just know what to do to ourselves or to our partners and not need to ask for it or voice our needs. Not only is this potentially really dangerous when it comes to things like getting consent and making sure that both people are comfortable and enjoying themselves, but it also, again, means it's much more likely that people just allow or tolerate touch that is really average, that isn't giving them the arousing or pleasurable or orgasmic experience that both people want it to. And so it's really important to remove these myths that sex should be silent and that we shouldn't be able to ask for what we want. And that's why these skills in this module are all about learning how to listen to your body, give great touch, ask what you want, receive feedback respectfully and with joy, and then you'll notice the difference when it comes to your, not just your erotic touch, but your sex life generally.